South Korea spends $20 billion to create the 7 circles of hell. It corresponds to each of the 7 worst sins. Stone Mill Hell for the sin of laziness, the Hell of Ice for iniquity, Hell of Fire for the crime of murder, the Abyss for the sin of violence, Hell of the Mirror for the sin of treachery, the Hell of the Plucked Tongue for the sin of lying, and the Hell of Fosa for the sins of God. For thousands of years, no king has ever passed the 7 deadly sins, but this fireman dispels the myth. 10 minutes ago, the fireman was holding a little girl in his arms. He fell 300 meters from a height and hit the ground hard. His life flashed before his eyes. Strangely enough, he was unharmed. But just then, he turns around to find 2 oddly dressed men standing at the bottom of a dangerous building, and not far away was the body of the fireman. So he was dead. Now he was just a dead soul. The 2 men approached him and began to introduce themselves. They were messengers from the underworld, and the man was the important man they were looking for. The last time a ghost like him died in a heroic way. The last time he was seen was 422 years ago. The messengers wanted to take him to the underworld, but the fireman couldn't accept. He had an elderly deaf mother to look after. He didn't want to die. The fireman was so frightened that he stepped back. Suddenly his feet left the ground. A huge circle of light appeared behind him and dragged him into hell. They came to a place called Chujinmun. It was full of dead souls. They had to go through the 7 deadly sins. All of them must be cleared before they can be reincarnated. The 3 messengers meet up. The 3rd messenger looks mature and stable. The men come to the gates of hell. Because the fireman is an important person, he has VIP access. The door to hell opens. It also has the word righteousness written on it in big letters. For thousands of years only the most righteous souls have been able to trigger it. But as soon as he enters, the messenger is stunned. I had no idea that the first level of judgment would be for murder, a hell of fire and water. Because the order of judgment in hell is from light to heavy. This means that murder is only the least serious crime a firefighter can commit. But a fireman who saves lives all day long, how can he commit the crime of murder? The ambassador explained that if you indirectly caused the death of someone you would also be found guilty. Suddenly the slab of stone beneath the fireman's feet split open. Beneath it were the souls of countless dead who had committed murder. They suffered daily from the fires of hell. The fireman had a good heart and wanted to save people. A man with an ugly face shouted at him. He was King Biancheng, the judge of the fire-torn hell. The king questioned him. Why did he abandon his colleague's rescue during a firefighting operation, thus indirectly causing the death of his colleague? The guilt-ridden fireman said nothing. Just as the judge was about to convict him, the messenger who defended him revealed the truth. It turned out that on the day of the incident, the building was in danger of collapsing. A colleague told him to save others first, and then to save himself. The fireman saved 8 people that day. By the time he tried to return to rescue his colleagues, the building collapsed. The incident left the fireman with a deep sense of guilt. When the king found out the truth, he acquitted the fireman of all charges. He passed the first stage of his trial. Then they crossed the river Styx in a boat. They arrived at the 2nd level, the hell of idleness. This is for those who have been lazy and wasted their time in life. Afterwards they will be crushed by graphite for all eternity. Look closely at this perverse punishment. The huge mill is filled with people fleeing for their lives. The slightest slackness will result in their being crushed to a pulp. This is the punishment of the hell of laziness. It punishes the lazy for eternity. The king of this hell is an old man with a charitable face. She began to look back on the life of the fireman. She finds that the fireman wasn't lazy at all in life. One might even say he worked his ass off. Even if it was a cat, he would have gone to the rescue regardless of his safety. The king was moved by what she read. She dropped the case against the fireman. She also asked him what motivates you to be positive and optimistic about life. But the fireman's answer left everyone dumbfounded. The king immediately changed his face. Because in the underworld money is a false god. It is a sin to believe in money. At the king's command, she ordered the gates to be opened. The fireman's raft was pushed out. Behind him is the cruel graphite punishment. He would fall and never be allowed to live again. The fireman was frozen in fear. In the nick of time, the messenger jumped into the water and pulled the raft. He pleaded with the king to take another look at the fireman's life. It turned out that the fireman had worked several jobs during his life. Working in a kebab shop by night, delivering food to the market during the day. On his days off, he had to scrub floors in the bathhouse. He even took a job as a chauffeur in the middle of the night. And he did it all. He does it all for his deaf mother and his young brother who was still in school. He sent every penny he earned back home. He didn't even take a day off until he died. How could a man who believed in money, how could he be guilty of anything? The king learned the truth. She acquitted the fireman of all charges. they set off for the next trial. Unexpectedly, they encountered a ghost on the way. "What is this all about?" the messenger told the fireman. "It's because someone in your immediate family has died a wrongful death. That's why there's a riot of spirits." In order to find out the truth, the messenger went to the fireman's house. He found out that the ghost was the fireman's baby brother. When he saw the messenger, he ran away. The messenger chased him, but he escaped. The messenger went to the barracks where the youngest brother had served in the army. The messenger soon found out the truth. A few days earlier, younger brother had been on duty with a new soldier. The recruit's gun had suddenly discharged and wounded him. When the lieutenant arrived, he saw his baby brother in a pool of blood. He was afraid that the incident would affect his promotion, so he and the recruit buried him. But little did they know, he was not dead at the time. He had been buried alive and suffocated. The lieutenant was afraid that the story would be revealed. He lied about his baby brother being a deserter and not knowing where he was. Afterwards, the lieutenant gave the recruits a break. He was followed by his baby brother in the form of an evil spirit. The recruit spends his days in a state of guilt. He went to a bar and tried to numb himself with alcohol. The ghost of his baby brother tried to kill him by throwing down a chandelier. This was discovered by the messenger. He chased younger brother all the way to the electricity tower and finally caught him. The messenger advised him to let go of his hatred and reincarnate. But younger brother's anger was too strong. He didn't listen to what the messenger said. All he wanted now was revenge. He cut off the electricity to the whole district and fled again. The spirit of the youngest brother continued to follow the new soldier, but found him at his mother's house. He also threw a map into the yard. The mother picked it up and looked at it. It marked the exact spot where the body was buried. For a moment the mother seemed to understand something. After the recruit had done this, with a guilty conscience he prepared to hang himself. The ambassador looked on. Just as the recruit was about to suffocate, the ghost of his youngest brother appeared. He pleaded with the messenger to save his friend. But it is a taboo for the messenger of the underworld to interfere in the affairs of the underworld. Younger brother promised to go with him. The messenger saved the new soldier. Younger brother also asked the messenger to tell the new recruit to live well. He had forgiven him. Younger brother's anger was finally quelled. On the other side, the fireman has safely survived the 3 levels of hell. The hell of betrayal, run by the great king of Santi. Here betrayers are sealed in mirrors. And the hell of plucking tongues, run by the great king of Taishan. Here those who lie will have their tongues pulled out. And the hell of unrighteousness, ruled by the great king of the 5 officials. The unrighteous are sealed in a block of ice. The firefighters all passed through without a hitch, but when they reached the hell of violence, there was another accident. Because the fireman had beaten his own baby brother in high school for no reason. Now the evidence was overwhelming. The king of the violent hells found him guilty. Just as the execution was about to take place, the female messenger applied for a joint trial. This means that this level of the trial will be combined with the last level. If in the last level of hell, the fireman is still found guilty, then he would be punished for all his sins and would never live again, and the messenger who defended him would be deprived of his chance of reincarnation. The great king agreed to the merging of the trials, so they went to the hell of heaven. There they were judged for the crimes committed against their loved ones, but never could they have imagined the fireman had committed such a terrible crime against his mother. With a pillow in his hand, the boy tried to cover his sleeping mother to death. The younger brother tried to stop him but was pushed away by his older brother. He even beat the younger brother severely. What a beastly act! They say there are no filial sons at the bedside of the sick. The mother was ill. The younger brother was malnourished for a long time. At a young age, he could hardly support the family. He lost all hope for life. The elder brother decided to take the family with him to die, but in the end, he couldn't do it. That night he ran away from the family with guilt. He never went back for 18 years. Not only did he work as a firefighter, he worked several jobs at once. He worked hard to earn money to send home. He didn't take a day off until he died. And when he died, he faced the judgment of hell. How could he atone for his sins against his loved ones? On the other hand, his deaf and mute mother carries a sign into the barracks. She wanted justice for her dead little son. When the lieutenant saw it, he was afraid that the murder would be revealed. He tore the sign off her body. He had to throw the mother out of the barracks. The mother refused and pulled out the map the recruit had given her. It showed the exact spot where her youngest son's body was buried. The lieutenant knew that the story had been exposed. Angry, He pushed his mother down. The ghost of his youngest son witnessed the scene. He couldn't take it anymore. His skin peeled off in pieces. His anger was overwhelming. Even if he became a ghost and could not be reincarnated, he would never allow anyone to hurt his mother. He broke free from his bonds. The messenger of hell tries to stop him, but he is thrown away by the neck. His anger turned into a sandstorm, a huge tornado. He vowed to make the lieutenant pay. The camp was in chaos. He began to attack indiscriminately. The messenger of hell can only try to save the others. Meanwhile, because the power of his youngest brother's grievance was too strong, the elder brother in hell was also affected. The quicksand was eating away at his soul. The messengeress tried her best to save him, but she could not. He could only cry out in despair. His voice reached the ears of his youngest brother. When he looked up, he saw his brother swallowed by the quicksand. For the sake of his brother, he let go of his resentment. The crisis was finally over. But just then, a huge building rises from the sand. This is the hell of heaven. It is here that the fireman will undergo his last trial. If they are innocent, they will be reincarnated. And this time, the king of hell himself is presiding. He doesn't even give the fireman a chance to argue. The king of hell pronounced his sentence straight away. The crime of matricide is unforgivable. The female messenger also tried to defend the fireman. She said her mother was in a coma and there was no victim. The king summoned the mirror of karma to reveal the truth. It turned out that, on the night the fireman was about to kill his mother, the mother had actually woken up. She knew everything. The fireman broke down and cried when he learned the truth. He was willing to admit his guilt and be punished, but begged the king of hell to let him see his mother one more time. He wanted to say sorry to his mother, but the king of hell didn't give him that chance. Just as the final sentence was being read out to him, suddenly the whole underworld began to shake violently. The mirror of karma was transformed into his mother's image. It turned out to be a dream from a ghost. With the help of a messenger, the spirit of his young brother entered his mother's dream. He told his mother that he had become a great judge. He told his mother that he would go to heaven to punish the bad people and that she should not worry. He also hoped that his mother would forgive his brother for what he had done. The idiot brother always felt guilty about his mother. He was too afraid to go home and had to work hard to earn money to send home. That idiot brother has worked so hard all his life. The crowd was moved by this. Suddenly the mother spoke up. Because it was in a dream, the deaf mother finally spoke. She had never blamed her brother. Instead, the mother felt that it was her own fault. She had made the children suffer. Mother and son clinging to each other. A mother's love is so great. The fireman ran over to them in tears. But the karma mirror had disappeared. He could no longer apologize to his mother in person, for the fireman was forgiven. Hell could no longer condemn him.
피고 김자홍에게 무죄를 선고하며 김자홍에게 즉시 환생할 것을 명하는 바이다.
The fireman was given a chance to be reincarnated. We all have many regrets in our lives. Love, friendship, family. If you had a chance to make up for them, what would you most like to say to them? Write down what